Russia attacks Ukraine again with drones and missiles. Ukrainian officials said Russian drones hit the city of Kyiv and other cities early Tuesday, causing significant damage in the western Lviv region. The Ukrainian Air Force says it has produced 35 drones, all but 3 shot down. City officials said the attack on Lviv caused a fire but no one was injured. Attacks on Kyiv and rocket attacks on Zaporizhzhia in the south are described as serious. According to the Air Force, more than 20 unmanned aerial vehicles dropped waves of missiles on Kyiv from the northern territory of Russia and the coast of the Sea of U-200B/U-200B Azov in the rear in the east. This is the first time such an incident has occurred in 18 days. In Lviv, city police chief Maxim Kozitsky said that the Iranian-made Shahed drone began firing, hitting the main target. "We were attacked when the weather siren sounded at around 5 o'clock this morning, 2 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time," said. Luckily there were no casualties. Several Iskander-M rockets hit Zaporizhzhia in southern Ukraine. City officials added that no one was injured. The governor said that 3 drones were also shot down south of Nikolaev. The Zaporizhzhia region is the target of most of Russia's current offensive to recapture what it had captured when the Ukrainian army began its full intervention in February 2022. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in his speech on television in the evening, while the army is advancing, they maintain their positions in some areas and in some areas against the Russian advance. Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said that a few hours ago, Ukrainian soldiers returned from the village of Pyatikhatki as they were trying to cross the Russian front lines in the south. She said it was the 8th Ukrainian village recaptured last week. There is no independent confirmation of recent developments. Ms. Maliar said that Ukrainians traveled up to 7 kilometers (4.3 miles) in both directions from the southern cities of Melitopol and Berdyansk in Zaporizhzhia. Exiled mayor of Melitopol, Ivan Fedorov, said that residents saw the Russian army leaving the Kherson region and going to the west of the Zaporozhian front. Melitopol and Berdyansk are located on the coastal road from Russia to Crimea, and this is considered important to the Russian army because of Kerch going from Russia to Crimea. Earlier this month, a Russian official said the bridge was deemed unsafe, but underground roads were operating normally. Western intelligence police said that Russian troops had withdrawn from the Kherson front since June 6, when the area around the Dnieper River was flooded after the collapse of the Kakhovka Dam. A drone attack on Moscow on Tuesday revealed a flaw in its air defense system, highlighting a weak energy base as many Russian areas came under fire in anticipation of a Ukrainian attack. The attack, which caused little damage to our home, angered President Vladimir Putin and Russian hawks, who criticized the senior military for failing to protect the central power of the Kremlin, which is more than 500 miles (310 kilometers) from the front lines. The Ministry of Defense said that of the 8 UAVs involved in the attack, 5 were killed, while the other 3 were stranded and dismissed. Some Russian media outlets and bloggers claimed that more drones were involved in the incident, but these claims could not be confirmed. The Attack follows a drone attack on the Kremlin on May 3 that caused minor damage to the roofs of palaces, including one of Putin's residences. As Russian officials say, another drone crashed near Moscow in an attempt to thwart Ukraine's attempts to attack urban and suburban infrastructure. Last week, Russia's Belgorod border region was hit by one of the worst attacks since the start of the war, when two anti-Ukrainian paramilitary groups claimed to no responsibility. Officials in the southern Russian city of Krasnodar said two drones struck on Friday, damaging residences. The protests have also led to calls to strengthen Russia's borders. Ukrainian police are happy with Tuesday's drone strike but mostly avoid denying responsibility, the answer being similar to what they said after the previous attack on Russian soil. Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, said in a sarcastic tweet that, even if intelligence is smarter and more forward-thinking than Russian military and political leaders. In the last 3 nights, the Russian military has captured the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, and other cities where rocket and drones are stationed, and there has been a steady increase in attacks since October. The Ukrainian military said it had shot down most of the missiles but declined to report any damage from the attack. Putin described the attack on Moscow as Ukraine's attempt to threaten its own people. He said Moscow's air defense system was working as expected but conceded that defending the capital was a difficult task. It is clear that the air defense needs to be strengthened, and we will do that, he said. Military investigators say the drones used in the attack are relatively crude and inexpensive, but have a range of about 1,000 kilometers, over 620 miles. They anticipate a sequel. Some of the drones flying to Moscow were Ukrainian-made UJ-22s capable of carrying explosives. Others seen in the sky near Moscow are small cars. Mark Kanchan, senior advisor to the International Security Program at the Center for Research and International Studies, pointed out that if Russia's air defense focuses on defense, this is one reason why the drone can fly to Moscow in all directions without defense. Attacks with more weapons. They target rockets, space missiles, airplanes, bombs, but not short drones, they can fly very low. Kanchan told the AP Russian air defense is not designed to do that. Kanchan said that the Russian army will move some of its air defense equipment away from the front lines to assist in the defense of Moscow. This move will deprive the Russian army of strength to deal with Ukraine's opposition. It's good for the Ukrainians because they get these machines from other areas where they can be used, maybe the front line, he said. The Kremlin's lackluster response to the attack angered some hawkish commentators and military bloggers in Moscow, again criticizing Russia's leadership for failing to respond effectively. The maverick millionaire head of Wagner's private military contractor, who played an important role on the Ukrainian battlefield, Yevgeny Prigozhin, failed to protect Moscow, describing the Russian military leaders as scum and sleeping. The Ministry of Defense, did nothing to stop the attack, said Prigozhin's office in a statement. How dare you fly a drone over Moscow? The dictatorial leader of Russia's Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, who sent troops from the region to fight in Ukraine, asked the Kremlin to enact laws in the country and use all its resources in Ukraine to destroy those terrorists. Some Kremlin observers noted that Putin's reconciliation contradicted the anger of Russian hawks, reflecting the public's belief that the protests would not be affected. Yes, Putin does not think that it will create public dissatisfaction. The government is not interested. While reducing the protests, it made the authorities look shameful and helpless, noting that delaying the conflict is in line with Putin. Chatham House's Russia and Eurasia Program Director James Nixey said on Tuesday that the attack showed Ukraine's decision to get closer to Russia and that more attacks are expected. This is not the first time and it won't be the last, Nixey told the Associated Press. Despite the call for retaliation, Nixey says, Ukrainians are flexing their muscles on all fronts to see what they can do on the bench. This is another part of the Ukrainian game, getting them to not only defend but also attack. There is pressure, but the Russian army has been doing this since the war started. The truth is, what Russia can do is really limited. It has limited manpower, limited funding, limited ammo, missiles, drones, and other things. They used all their efforts, all their money, all their wealth, all their blood to continue their war in Ukraine.